The age-old question returns once again. Should you buy this year's Call of Duty? Here's a quick guide to everything you need to know before purchasing Black Ops 6. The story takes place in a new period never seen before in the Black Ops era, the early 90s. As always, the story will likely intertwine with real, historical events, this time involving both the Cold and Gulf Wars. In true Black Ops fashion, much of the campaign will be clandestine and mysterious conspiracies, with spies likely looming at every turn, and much of what you think you know will likely end up being lies all along. Call of Duty describes this year's campaign as an intense spy thriller with a mind-bending story that pushes the bounds of what's real. This sounds like it will be a return to Black Ops' original roots. The first story focused a lot on the behind-the-scenes, spy and mole type stories, and much of the story was one big mind game. I'm glad to hear it seems like they're returning to something that has worked so well in the past. The story will see several returning characters, such as Frank Woods, Adler, and more than likely Raul Menendez. Woods won't be the energetic and grizzled military machine as we once knew him, as this does take place after his injuries at the hands of Menendez. However, he will still play a pivotal role in leading missions and helping out wherever he can. If you don't already know, Black Ops 2 had several endings, of which it has been confirmed that the canon ending of that story is when Mason dies and Menendez lives. So many believe that we'll see Menendez lurking in the shadows, plotting his revenge, and playing the long game. There are also several new characters like Troy Marshall, Woods' protege, Jane Harrow, the new CIA handler, and many more. Similar to Black Ops 2, it seems that Black Ops 6 will have a web of choices that lead to different consequences within each mission, different voice lines from each character, and likely for the story as a whole. I think this was a nice touch in previous games and adds some really nice replayability for future playthroughs. The story will contain several methods of execution for each mission, with some being stealth-driven while others require an all-out assault. The example they gave in their post is a mission in the catacombs of a European casino, which calls for a more silent approach, but eventually will lead to a massive heist above in the casino itself. On the other hand, there will be a full-scale invasion for a palace in the Iraqi desert that calls for guns blazing action. Additionally, the Black Ops 6 story will feature a hub-like central base of operations, which is a former KGB manor house. There, you can explore freely, shoot some target practice, talk to your squad, select missions from the evidence board, and uncover secrets in abandoned areas of the manor. This seems like it'll serve as a cool and immersive way to progress, rather than just selecting missions from the main menu. Now, with all that said, I really can't say you should buy this game just for the campaign alone. Personally, I am very excited for what they've been cooking up for the last few years, and with this game's increased development time, I wouldn't be surprised if it is a masterpiece. The time period is interesting, and I think the spy-themed gameplay will really provide some interesting and hopefully fresh experiences that players of all skill levels can enjoy. It's been so long since we've had a brand new, memorable character or a mission that's iconic for any reason, honestly. Whether it's remembered as a masterpiece like All Gillied Up or Vendetta, or if it's remembered for another reason like No Russian or Time and Fate. It seems like the first few iterations of each franchise, both Modern Warfare and Black Ops, have been riding the waves of their past successes, bringing back characters like Woods, Soap, Price, and more year after year, rather than creating something new for players to attach to. Although I definitely do love these characters, it gives the game a lazy and recycled feel before you even get started. Obviously, this year won't be a completely new story, but I am really hoping there will be a lot of effort put into these new characters. This is where it seems like we'll be getting the heaviest amount of changes, which is a huge refreshment after having Modern Warfare 2 and 3 back-to-back. The headline is Omni Movement, meaning you can sprint, slide, and dive in any direction. Even if these mechanics were moved over to current games, those games would probably feel entirely different, so I am very excited that we'll actually feel like a new game rather than just another year of glorified DLC. There are several other updates like enemies reacting to the hit zone when you damage them. The heads-up display has been overhauled, allowing users to customize it to their own liking, and also subtle player movements with your weapon and operator reacting as if they were really there. The quality of life changes sound like some great additions that honestly should have been in the game for a while now, and as for Omni Movement, it'll be difficult to say until we get our hands on. It seems like it may feel like a completely different franchise altogether, but when coupled with other aspects of classic Call of Duty, who knows how it'll play. As for maps, there will be 16 all new maps at launch. including 12 core and 4 strike maps, which are just smaller maps that according to Call of Duty are more chaotic. After playing a game with almost exclusively recycled maps all year, I can't be more happy to hear that all the maps on launch will be brand new. Obviously, I'm sure things like Nuketown and Firing Range will inevitably make an appearance, and I'm not against that at all. The classics are definitely classic for a reason, but only having maps that you've played since 2009 is a tough scene. Call of Duty says each map tries to innovate the classic 3-lane map design, usually in the small to medium range. Once again, it's been so long since Call of Duty has come up with a brand new iconic multiplayer map, but with 16 maps and 4 years of time to cook something up, I'm really hoping we're going to get something good. Progression in Black Ops 6 is returning to a more classic style, with traditional prestiges making their long-awaited return. Players level from 1 to 55 and can reset and relock all the gear previously unlocked through the 10 prestiges in the game. After Prestige 10 is achieved, you'll have the opportunity to chase after Prestige Master level 1000, with a mysterious classified reward if you make it all the way. The full Prestige system will be available at launch, which is just great to hear in my opinion. I know not everyone cares about progression, but if I reached max level in a season, I wouldn't ever just hop on to play a public match because it felt so pointless. It's good to always have something to look forward to, and I guess that's unless you're planning to reach level 1000 in the first couple months. Finally, Theater Mode is making its long-awaited return, and I'm excited for what that means for the community. Overall, the new features of multiplayer have sucked me back in yet again. I'll be the first to admit that I'm a typical COD player. Every year I complain and talk bad about each new game, and I still often buy them. I will say I didn't cave for Vanguard or Modern Warfare 2, and I only bought MW3 to start making content, so maybe I'm a little stronger than most, but I'll definitely be pre-ordering so I can get early access to the beta for Black Ops 6, and I probably would be doing that even if it weren't for content purposes. I do think the multiplayer alone, if that's your cup of tea, will likely provide hours and hours worth of playtime and will definitely make the purchase price well worth it. If multiplayer isn't your thing, you'll be happy to hear that round-based zombies is back. Not only is it back, there will be 2 full and brand new round-based maps named Terminus and Liberty Falls on launch, which, not to sound like a broken record, seems like an impossibility lately. We've seen so many remakes of zombies maps and quite a few similarities of maps that are deemed brand new too. While Cold War definitely wasn't the worst thing ever by any means, for me, the last real zombies experience was in Black Ops 4, and even then, that didn't compare to the zombies of old. However, look at a map like 9. The ambience and setting is captivating from the moment you load in, and there are many secrets lurking throughout. Compared to recent zombies experiences, they just haven't created that intrigue or replayability like games of the past. This year's story is a continuation of the Dark Ether narrative that started in Cold War. One of the biggest complaints of OG players was the implementation of operators into the zombies story. Used to, there were a set of 4 characters that you got to know, got attached to, and were able to closely follow their story as you were right there with them. However, with operators, none of that is possible, and it takes out of the immersion. In Black Ops 6, it seems like you'll be able to choose whether you want to play as a set crew, which will have story dialogue, or as operators, which is just a huge win for the zombies community. I think the zombies mode has been largely pushed to the side for the last several years, but Treyarch really have no excuse for this iteration not to be an absolute masterpiece. They've had the time, and they've known the sales are likely going to be higher than ever, so they may as well go all out for this game. With all that in mind, I definitely think this game is a buy for the majority of us. If you're on edge, maybe wait and watch your favorite streamer play the beta, or even wait a few weeks after release to see what the vibes are. Don't forget, I do feel like many streamers do initially hype up these games to get their audience excited, which there's nothing wrong with that, but maybe take each opinion with a grain of salt. However, there's really no reason why this game shouldn't be a memorable one for the Call of Duty franchise. And with all the hype built up around this game, if it does fail to deliver, we may witness the climax of the downfall of Call of Duty.